The Rebel Puppeteers of Sudan is a documentary directed and shot by Rupa Gogineni. This documentary primarily fits into the observational mode of documentary filmmaking, as the filmmaker takes upon a passive role in the development of this documentary, allowing the subjects to tell their stories without interference or narration. Observational is a detached, unobstructed mode of the documentary. Observational essentially just captures reality and lets audience observe the subject's reality by taking in their life and personal experiences. This approach allows viewers to experience their lives and events naturally unfold, giving the documentary a sense of authenticity. This documentary follows a group of Sudanese puppeteers who make parody and satirical content based on the political and social issues that their country faces. The film follows closely along the observational type of documentary filmmaking, as the filmmaker offers an openly interpretive perspective upon the puppeteers' lives and their work, as it allows them to showcase their ideologies and impacts without any perspective being generated by the filmmaker. The content of this film was approached in quite a complex and conflicting manner, as the topics and issues being explored in the film were quite significant and tragic. However, the documentary took upon quite a satirical yet open approach. The filmmaker left a lot of information open for interpretation by really just letting the documentary flow, and not really revolve around a narrative. The documentary obviously took several approaches to capturing the real-life struggles of the puppeteers and their drive to expose the political oppression in Sudan. In an observational mode documentary, the filmmaker watches what happens in the world around them without interfering. The filmmaker stays out of the way while real-life events and people unfold. Cinema verite, which literally translates to truthful cinema, is another name for this kind of filmmaking. The filmmaker allows for direct observation upon the lives of the puppeteers, as they allow the audience to view their work and indulge in the passion of their work. Although the documentary focuses on the puppeteers' exposure of their government throughout the Sudan, the filmmaker takes upon a more personal and intimate approach at times, as they narrow in on specific people involved in this group and allow the audience to understand and engage with them by hearing their experiences and opinions on these issues and how it affects their daily lives. Throughout the documentary, the puppeteers also provide contextual background on these topics. These explanations into the context of their work allows the filmmaker to solely focus on their artistic work and allows for the audience to develop a greater understanding on why the puppeteers do what they do. The individual style of the filmmaker adds a lot to this documentary and really helps shape the documentary's tone, impact, and audience's understanding of the subject matter through their own unique lens. The flow of the documentary really settles into the observational tone of the film, as the filmmaker allows a lot of shots to breathe by lingering on certain moments and just capturing the reality of the shot to provide the most authentic look and feel as possible. For example, throughout the film, many shots that display how the puppet was set up before the shoot really just showed the effort put into their craft and allowed the audience to reflect upon how passionate these people really are in exposing and fighting towards oppression and their government, especially considering the tools that they are given to express this type of media. The editing follows a fairly linear pattern, while the cinematography goes for a more natural feel by having majority of the shots handheld and constantly switching between close-ups and wide shots to emphasize the space and environment the puppeteers work in, while also honing in on their talent and enhancing the personal feel of the film while still straying from the narrative type. The style, mode, and content of this documentary are quite dependent upon each other, as the relationship between all these elements enhances the viewer's experience of this film and provides a realistic portrayal of content while allowing the audience to develop an emotional reaction through the style and mode. The observational mode of shooting this documentary is realistically most appropriate for covering this type of content, as it lets the subjects speak for themselves and showcase their talent, without necessarily tying any narrative or perspective to it. Just by capturing their daily lives and experiences, the audience can therefore draw their own conclusions and beliefs on the suppression their country faces. The style integrated by the filmmaker successfully delivers the content to the audiences and works hand in hand with the observational mode of documentary filmmaking, as the filmmaker's informal, fairly linear, handheld, and natural style of filming maintains the authenticity and realism of the content showcased and leaves it open for interpretation. All elements of the film come together successfully to cover important content without associating it with a specific perspective or narrative, and instead just studying the lives of those experiencing these issues firsthand.